The following podcast is being brought to you by the Defy Life Podcast Network.
And I was like, yes, hi. I was so excited.
Oh, we said hi. We need to hi again.
Okay, hi.
A guy get to a point and he asks you to marry him, he really wants to marry you.
Mm-hmm. He ready.
Like he really feels like, you know what, she's the one. She's the one.
You already getting the goods. You got to pay for it. Bring me the ring and get on one knee.
Okay.
Or two.
You need time to observe someone and really get a sense of how well do they treat you, how well do they handle adversity.
You're not the one because you don't have grit, the perseverance. You ain't really want me because you ready to give up. Because I said no. Nah, you shouldn't have asked. But since I said no, now it's your job to stay in the game and try to fight for it.
Boy, on 5 Heartbeats, when you make the announcement you're going solo at the awards ceremony.
What up? And welcome to One Eye Shut, a podcast about many topics from the perspective of 3 married couples. We are back again, y'all. We just want to thank you for coming out and listening again and meeting us out here like every week. We just really, really appreciate that. And since you're here, you already know at least one place to listen to us, but we also just want to remind you that you can listen to us at defylifepods.com, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Tunes, and any of the popular podcast platforms out there. So we're here, the dopest podcast out there. We've got another great topic for you today. And our topic really is one that if you're in any kind of relationship, you deal with it. It doesn't matter if it's husband, wife, mother, child, co-workers, even sometimes friends, just anybody that you might care about, right? And that is the concept of enabling versus support. What does it look like? How do you balance it? Like, really? Like, what is that shit, right? All right, but before we get started, we want to do our usual and check in with the crew, see how everybody's doing, how they feeling, what kind of headspace y'all in tonight. All right, let's start. Come on, Al. You start us tonight. What's your word of the day? How you doing? Like, what's up?
I just knew I was going to be the one today. Just had that sense in my soul. So, what's up, co-host? What's up, listeners? This is that dude, also known as Al. How y'all doing? I'm doing pretty good for One Eye Shut Day. Feeling good over here. I always feel good the show once it starts, regardless of how I felt before. Something about doing what we're doing with who we're doing it with always gives me a little jolt. My word of the day is fragile. That's my word of the day, fragile. Because that's life. How fragile things are and how things can just change so rapidly. And it reminds you of it and somehow you still forget it. But then it reminds you of it again and you say, damn, I'm going to never forget how fragile life is. And then you do. But this was one of those weeks that just reminded me of how vast things can be very different. So in the sense of count your blessings, life is fragile and life kind of changes. But also in the sense of when you're going through shit, things can kind of change for the better, quickly on a dime. So everything being everything, just take it as it comes. And that's my word for the day. So looking forward to this show.
Thank you, Al. Fragile. I think, I don't know if we've ever had a sentiment like that. Fragile. It just sounds so fragile.
Well, I try to be a person who doesn't really give a shit about what has happened and just kind of stay in the space of now. Because if you are not now, you're not here now, you're nowhere. Now, here, nowhere.
How long you been saving that one, Al?
Since I heard it on the TV about 2 days ago.
All right. Thanks for
Gotta
sharing.
always be now, here. Or you're nowhere. Stay present. Although my word was fragile, stay present.
Who is that laughing? Is that you, Ladine? Yeah. Don't encourage him. Please.
No.
She's being
Support
an enabler.
me. Support me or enable me. It doesn't even matter. I'll take it both.
See, that's what I'm saying. What does that even mean? All right. Ladine, what you got for us?
Why you gotta go to me? Just because I was laughing at Al?
Yep. You called attention to yourself. There you go.
Ma'am, come on. I haven't been feeling well today. So I guess I'm gonna choose wellness as a word because that's what I would like. Some overall amazing health and wellness in my life. Not really feeling very well. I was just telling the people, these beautiful people, my co-hosts, that I've been having this weird scent in my nose and in my sinuses since I had COVID in January, and it'll be like it's the scent of ammonia, and it's just so I get these headaches some days. They're unbearable. Today was one of them. And I don't feel good. I'll wake up weak with a headache and then this scent in my nose, and oh man. Anyway, blood pressure's been up since we had COVID. Nothing's really supporting regulating it. So I'm on blood pressure meds. It's probably the lowest dosage ever, but it's still medication, and I don't really do medication. So being open about this, being even open to take it was a problem for me. But I've had kidney stones 3 times in my life. My father was a diabetic for years. He's on dialysis right now, 3 days a week. It's kicking his ass. And he's actually not on dialysis because of the diabetes, because that is maintained. He's on dialysis because of his blood pressure, and he couldn't maintain that for 5 years straight. So I'm clear that when I looked this up, it said that it's either your body's burning a lot of fat really fast, which I wish was the case, or it could be your kidneys. So I'm looking to maintain myself and be okay. So if my blood pressure's been up for the last 4 months straight, I mean, it's just not good for my body, period. So I think that this COVID blood pressure is very different from regular blood pressure. I think COVID period it's definitely altered. It's changed my body and the way my body reacts to many different things. So I'm definitely being aware, being mindful of what's happening with my body. But I know I need to make some major changes. I have made some, but probably not being as consistent as I need to be with Ladine. So I'm going to nurture Ladine, love on Ladine, and get this wellness popping.
So if we have any herbalists or naturalists or home remedies or Caribbeans that know something about some natural stuff that can help Ladine and her.
Oh, and I'm doing, and I'm definitely doing most of that. I'm doing a lot of that.
Yeah, but clearly it's still not you ain't quite found the right thing yet. So there's still something out there that could probably help you. So I'm just, asking if we got some folks out there that have any suggestions or experience with such a thing. Reach out.
It's your girl.
holla at your girl. Like, it takes a village. It takes a village, and one of us, needs a little assistance right now. So, if you got it, definitely reach out. Reach out. All right, Jr. What you
Yeah.
got?
If anybody does reach out, you can find us on social media at One Eye Shut Pod, or you can email us at info@godefylife.com. So hit us up if you got any suggestions for remedies. Thank you.
Yeah.
All that. So, my word of the day is resolve. Because I in the last 6 weeks, I kind of been going through the same stuff my wife's been going through. Y'all know for a while since we had COVID. But I kind of been feeling like myself lately. I told my wife last week, that's the best I felt in a year. I went to the doctor for a follow up in 6 weeks. 6 weeks ago, right? And I lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks. And really, I can attribute it.
And you can tell.
Yeah. A lot of it was like water weight, but a lot of it was just shit I had to get off me. But I'm walking almost 10,000 steps a day at work and upstairs and downstairs. So it's kind of, built in a workout every day. So just resolve in how I'm feeling. And just the last couple of weeks on the network, kind of was going through some stuff with, back and forth with, a show that left the network, that, kind of not following guidelines and going back and forth. And then had the pleasure of introducing Al's show with Jerry and the Mike Minister, and having Lincoln on for the last couple of weeks. Just kind of feel resolved that, things happen how they're supposed to happen. So, it's always going to fall back to where it's supposed to be, regardless of how you're feeling. So, that's my word of the day.
Thank you, Jay. Let's swing to the left with Chiquita. How you doing today, Chiquita?
I'll go ahead and give my word real quick. She's doing something real quick. I'll go ahead and give my word. My word of today is, well, first off, let me give the introduction. So I've been heavy on X songs, the last past week and a half. So I was just listening to the songs and just thinking and reminiscing and just remembering the era and what was going on and what happened. And so my word of the day is monumental, because when you're in the moment of what's going on, you just didn't realize that you were seeing like one artist, one main artist, just carry a record label on his back, and build it. So it was like seeing what X done with Rough Riders was absolutely monumental. Just looking back on that. Here's Keita.
Oh, they called me first.
They did.
Hey y'all. Happy to be here.
Bo.
Hey, Keita.
Yes. As you all know, I was in the slumps last week. Just wasn't feeling it. But this week I'm kind of like I guess it's 2 words. It's self-searching myself. So I'm kind of like lay, but I'm just trying to self-search myself. I'm back to walking every day. I'm also back to burning my sage. I'm having a hard time trying to find my spot to go ahead and start meditating. But I'm really trying to self-search and bring that out of me to start like meditation, because I just need some calmness of my soul and just just find myself. So I'm kind of like still stuck.
Yes, Keela. I love all of this, Keela. Yes. Sounds so good. I'm so happy for you. That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yes.
Nice. All right, so I'm struggling with the word. I've been flip-flopped in my head several times while y'all was talking. And so I'm gonna say reflective. There's been some things that has been coming up for me that has been forcing me to reflect on some things, and I have realized and remembered some things. It's funny how I think Al touched on this a little bit, but it's just funny how some things that you forget that you need to know that the universe has a funny way of reminding you. And so it's been some of that this week, and then it's been some reflective moments just because of like what's happening in our lives right now. Some big stuff coming up, like our daughter graduating from college, and so just a few nostalgic moments, just looking back at kind of having some of those where have the time gone kind of moments. Al's birthday's coming up, both of them. So just thinking about that, and wow, this is like number, I don't know how many, Al. We knew at one point, I don't know, this is like number 30 birthday us celebrating.
Oh, yeah. Well, just for the listeners and our co-host, there's only one Al in the house. You said Al's birthday's coming up, both of them. There's only one Al in the house. There's two Alvins in the house.
Some
my
may
God.
disagree. I'm just saying.
Well,
But
none that matter.
Since this is your motherfucking show too.
Thank you.
Al's birthday is coming up, and Alvin's birthday is coming up.
You can give him the AB, like
I mean, what is happening right now? We all understood what she was saying.
I'm glad this is not
such
being
a
talked
Glymph.
He just acting up like I don't know. He's in a punchy mood or something. Just cutting up.
Did she go froggy?
Punchy. I'm feeling punchy.
You feeling punchy? I'm just saying, sometimes you have to support them, even in spite of, and I'll just leave it there. So thanks for your contribution, babe. We really appreciate it. So thanks for the little segue too. As Al has allowed me to demonstrate what support really looks like in spite of. And you know what? It is so funny. I was thinking about this the other day. I didn't mention it to you, Al, but I was thinking about like I have always like been super supportive of my husband. And over the years, like you've come up with some pretty far out there, some crazy ideas, some things that I just really didn't agree with or that I thought was, not the best idea. And it came up the other day, and I don't know why, that bed and breakfast. You remember that years ago? The whole bed and breakfast thing with that shyster guy. You don't remember that? Anyway, so my husband has come up with all kinds of, because his brain is just constantly thinking of things and ventures and ways to make money. And so over the years, it's been a lot of things. And I was just thinking, like, your wife is the bomb, Al. I hope you know that. I'm just saying. You wouldn't have found too many that supported you in the way that I have with all this stuff that you be having going on sometimes.
Check my resume, boo. So you asked me, do I know my wife's the bomb? Like I claimed you early. Like it's kind of like whoever was the scout for LeBron James, like he deserves some props. Like he They saw that kid at 18. They saw that kid at 15, and they said, "Yo, that kid right there, give me him." So the fact that I done scooped you at 18, it's not like I waited till you was 25, and nah, I'm like, yeah, give me that one. I'm good. I'll run with that right there and be good. Let's go. I know who I got.
Dag, did he just compare me or put me in the same analogy with LeBron?
I think he's calling you the GOAT, man.
I feel honored, like I'm the motherfucking GOAT.
Well,
yes, leave it at that.
I'm gonna leave it at that.
I'm saying, what you getting ready to say? I don't even understand.
Because I think Jr. was baiting me suddenly, and he almost got me. He almost got me.
Did.
He almost got me. Son. But I appreciate you pushing me back on the curb.
This ain't Defy Life, right?
Back up.
That's right. That's right.
Yo, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
So, like I said, tonight we are talking about enabling versus support. What does that look like, and how do you know when you are enabling versus supporting your spouse? I think I've already shared what I think. Like, I don't know that we always know. And I don't know that we even think about that, but I'm not sure if we even know what it looks like. So one of the things that came to mind instantly when this topic came up was this whole idea of support, and like even forgetting about enabling. Do we know what support looks like or what it should be? And that question came up for me because Al and I, like, we run into this. I don't know. I was going to say, I don't know. We run into this from time to time. And I don't know if he does as much as I do, just because of who we are and how we're made up, right? So for me, the issue that comes up for us is who gets to define what the support looks like. So sometimes Al is supporting me. His intention is to support me, but the support isn't coming in the way that I need it, right? And so we'll have this thing where sometimes he'll be like, well, support is support, and one should be grateful of just having the support regardless of what the package looks like. And I often am of the opinion that, well, it's not really support if the person doesn't feel supported. So what say you, couples on One Eye Shut? Let's start with Keith and Thomas. Is that an issue for you guys? Does it come up in your in your relationship? Who's right? I mean, you can go ahead and tell Al that I'm right about this support thing. Now, if you'd like, it's okay. Thomas, Keita?
Are they both Alan?
Hey, Alan today.
Lord, we are, and I'm sitting here just talking away. I hate that. So, I like the fact that you brought up if the person doesn't feel like it's support. If it's support. So I feel like that sometimes, like if I don't feel like you're supporting me, then I feel like that's not support coming your way. But this is very hard. As far as you said, like who's defining support? Was that your question, Gina?
Yeah, like, is it ever an issue for you two what it looks like or what it should look like?
Not. It's not an issue. Coming from me. What support looks like with us. Look how he nodded his head. I'll wait to see what you say. But I feel like we support each other no matter what. Now the issue is in here is if we agree Like if that's something that I feel like is not the best for him to do right now, with the family or whatever job that he's doing, and maybe he should go, to do something else. And so I don't agree sometimes on things, but then I kind of get upset and I'll just tell him how I feel. But then I'll be like, hey, if that's what you want to do, that's your decision. But the problem that we have as far as support, I feel like I always saying making bad decisions. So that's something that I pray about a lot. Is making bad decisions at the time. But I still support him though. I still feel like we support each other, even though I don't like it.
I was just gonna ask. Go ahead, Gina.
No, go ahead, Ray.
No, I was just gonna ask you. So, like, what do you mean the bad decisions? You mean like you support each other in making bad decisions?
Yeah, I have no choice, because if that's something, not that I don't have a choice, I'ma still say how I feel. Like, okay, if he decides to use his money and purchase, I'll say, okay, one problem Thomas had was shoes. So he decides to purchase shoes and sell them. I feel like, I'm not a shoe person. I don't understand people that purchase expensive shoes, but he feels like that's a way of bringing extra money in because he can sell them or whatever. So I feel like that's a bad decision, but if that's something that he is like hard up on, I have no choice but to support it. I'm not just going to stop him from what he, wants to do in that situation, in that case. You kind of understand what I'm saying?
Are you saying that Thomas makes a lot of bad decisions?
I'm not saying that, but it's been situations that we make some bad decisions.
Oh, and so you saying basically you support
but
him
I still support it.
Y'all made these bad decisions together. I understand.
But there's still support. I have no problem of supporting him, but I still voice my opinion on the bad decision. That's the issue that we have.
And then after the bad decision is made, is it a I told you so kind of situation? I'm just asking. Why are you laughing, Ladine?
No, because it's not funny. So after a bad decision is made.
And that's for either one of you, I'm just saying, whoever's making the bad decision.
It's different, though. It's different. It can be I told you so on my end, or I can be I told you so on his end, because he'll be like, look, see, I purchased this, but then it was some cases I was like, really? See what happened?
So you both doing the I told you so sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, I and I only ask.
Growing as a couple and with the bad decisions.
And so I only ask because, is it support if you're kind of just waiting for it to fail, and then when it does, you're like, see, I told you so.
I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean? Like, so I understand, like, verbally up front, you're like, all right, go ahead, I support you, or do what you're going to do, or whatever. Or even if it's that, right? If it's do what you're going to do, is that real supportive? That's just like, you know what, fuck it. I know you're going to do what you're going to do. So.
Well, no, it's still support on my end, because I still take the time to listen to what he's saying or help him with the decision in purchasing the shoes. And then I also, reach out to my friends and family if they want to, join to whatever he's trying to do. So I still feel like it's a support.
Okay. All right. What about y'all, Glymph?
Go ahead,
No, you guys.
Oh man, it's weird. Like when, how should I put this? Like I'm always supportive of what they want.
Hold on, JR.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Thomas. I didn't give you an opportunity to
I was about to
respond.
say I didn't think Pooh spoke.
Nah, it's all good. I was just trying to see what we were doing here. That's all.
Keita took so long to respond. I forgot. I'm sorry.
Like Al say, I mean not Al. What Jay was saying, we pretty much support on both ends, and I pretty much support no matter what. I guess there is sometimes the I told you so mentality, but so I do want to go back and hint at what Gina and Al said in the beginning, that I had the thought, like Al was like, well, as long as support and holding your hand or this and that, or as long as I'm giving you some type of support, that support. And so I would have wholeheartedly went with that, and until this happened. So so I came home, and I had to endure it for myself and witness it for myself. And sometimes when you endure things and witness things, yourself, you see the other side of the spectrum. So I came home and I was exhausted. I was wasted. I felt like, not wasted as in drunk, but I didn't have any energy, and I just felt down and out. And I was like, hey, Keita, man, I feel horrible. I feel down and out. I just feel bad. And I've never said that to her, like, ever. And I was like, yo, I just feel, I remember mentioning it before. I was like, yeah, I just feel depressed. And she was like, see, I told you to be and leave that job. I told you. So that's what she was saying. Like, she was saying, yeah, I told you to be and get out of there. Them people don't care nothing about you. Get out of that job. So she was saying, I guess she was saying that, giving me support as in, pushing me out, start my own thing, start my own venture. However, that's not what I need. I said, see, and I looked at her square in the face. I said, see, I don't need this at that point. All I need is for you to, give me a hug and say, I love you no matter what. Go ahead, keep doing what you're doing. Things are going to open up. I just needed a hug, basically. I just wanted a hug. I didn't need for you to, tell me or push me out or get out there and do your own thing. I didn't want a do your own thing right now. I just wanted a hug from my wife.
Well, did you ask for your hug? I mean, I can't stand when people don't like the reactions they get from others. But you gotta ask for what the fuck you want. I'm sorry.
I can't tell or expect anyone how to react, but I'm saying that's not what I wanted at that time. I didn't ask for a hug, but that's not what I wanted at the time. So that goes hand in hand with what Gina was saying. I mean, with Al saying, okay, I'm giving you some support, but on the other hand of the spectrum, Gina's saying, well, that's not the support I wanted. So is it really support?
And that ain't fair, Ladine. He asked for it after the fact. So, like, he didn't know necessarily how she was going to respond. Or he might not have known what he needed until he got the reaction that he got. But he did say, like, yo, that's kind of not what I needed right now.
So now I know, like, now I know what you were saying, because, like, I was wholeheartedly on what Al was saying. Well, it's support. We're giving you support. But now I got it that way. I was like, whoa, I kind of wanted the other type of support. That's what I needed. So now I'm feeling like, well, if I'm getting support that I'm not looking for, is that it doesn't feel like the support that I want. So I still get both ends of the spectrum.
Well, the good thing is you express your feelings. So
yeah, I felt good about that because I've never done that before.
Well, kudos to you.
Sorry, Gina. And it makes me think of, like, how we used to talk about it a couple times in previous podcasts, how we referred to that dance that you have to do, in this marriage thing. And what Keita and Thomas just brought up is like the perfect example of that dance, and knowing when to lead and how fast to go and finding the rhythm. Like, all of that is a part of figuring it all out. Like, Keita thought that's what she needed to do at the time. He's like, yeah, that's not really what I need. And so again, just staying in that dance and just being able to figure it out. What song we listening to today? Like all of that. All right. Now we'll go to the Glymph.
Yeah, it's that dance is it's delicate and it's intricate, right? I generally support everything the lady does, as long as it's a victimless crime. I'm pretty supportive of what pretty much everything she does. Sometimes I think I may even like push a little too hard. I get excited when I hear like ideas and somebody saying they want to try something new. I get excited about that, and I start, chomping at the bit. Like, okay, let's do this shit. And so I may overstep my bounds a little with the support. The only time where I'm kind of, asking her to kind of take a step back is when it's going to affect other people, i.e., people in this household. When I'm like, okay, step back. Let's think about this for a minute. But for the most part, as long as she's thought things through and it's not going to hurt anybody. I'm pretty supportive. I like to think of pretty much everything. Usually, when it's something I don't agree with, I'll shut my mouth, and that's when usually I tell her all the time. Whenever I don't say anything, it comes back to bite me in the ass. So those are the times where I'm like, man, I wish I had spoken up because, if I don't want her to think I don't support her sometimes, so I just won't say anything. So but I think I get too excited when I do support sometimes.
Okay. What?
So
you want to add some words to that grunt?
Yes. So, I would like to say that my husband will ask me the 21 questions before his support comes in, and that's how he sees support. So I'm feeling what Gina was saying. So, but I think that this is like really also has a lot to do with, the love languages and the dance and all of that, because I don't want the 21,000 questions. That shit don't feel like you supported me when you drilling me about whether or not I want to do this. I came to you telling you I want to do this. I didn't fucking ask to be asked 1,000 questions. How you know I didn't ask myself these questions beforehand?
Because you didn't have an answer when I asked you.
Stop right now. God.
I'm joking. Relax.
So it can be very overwhelming. Cause I don't always want to be asked the questions, but that's just JR's nature. Like, that's who he is. So like, I get that when he wants to really get in deep, because he does get excited when he sees me excited. So he gets excited, but he doesn't realize that like his questions actually become discouraging. Like, because it starts making me think like, fuck, well, like, do I really want to do this shit? And am I really interested in this shit? Because I feel like I'm being drilled into why I want to do it. So it's not that shit is so discouraging for me. It's like it makes what I want to do like unattractive. Like, it's not I can't stand to be drilled. I can't stand to be I guess for some people, for some people, they think that it's being interested, right? Or they want to know more and they're inquisitive, so they're going to ask questions. And for me, I get very annoyed when people do that with my shit. And it's not all the time, but it's definitely certain people in my life. My husband's one of those people. But he is supportive. I know that that's like the way that he does show support. And he's supportive in different ways. And, I'll tell him when he's getting on my fucking nerves and when I don't want him to be asking me 1,000 questions. And we might get in a little bit of an argument. Go ahead, Gina.
What would you like instead?
I don't even know. So I get that
A
I
fucking
should know
hug.
what I want, right? Yeah, I probably, probably want a fucking hug, you know? You're an ass, Jay. I probably do want a fucking hug.
Ah, Pooh, I love you, man.
All right, well, you go, girl. You do what the fuck you want to do. What do you need from me? Do you need my help with anything? That's probably more like what I want. So yeah, I do get it, but I also get that that's just who he is. So I've learned there's times where like I'll come up with something and it's mad funny because usually we have this thing where I'll be like, so I was thinking, he'd be like, uh-oh. So it's kind of great though because I get to use him, right? If I'm thinking about something or I have an idea and I kind of want him to drill me. So I guess I really can't play both sides. So I mean, I'm grateful for whatever support that I do get from him. He doesn't just shoot me down. When I feel like that, I know that's my shit and that's my stuff that gets triggered. It's not actually him and what he's doing. It's the triggers. So, but yeah, he's pretty much supportive. I definitely support him. I mean, I've probably made some real stupid decisions supporting him in some things, but at the same time, if he's my husband and I support him, and I mean, I'm gonna have his back. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what the guy was going to say. Like, I think, like, if you're asking for somebody's support and you know who they are, you got to be prepared for what you're going to get because you know that, right?
This is what you asked for, right, bitch?
Right. You know, I mean, everybody on this call can tell you that that's how I am. I'm wired like that. So if I don't understand something, I'm going to ask questions. And if you have something that you want to build, I'm going to ask how the fuck you going to support it? How are you going to build it? Where's your foundation? What do you know about it? Like, I'm going to ask those questions. And I can be annoying on purpose at times because I'm not going to be the only obstacle you're going to have. And if what I say at the beginning in your excited moment gets you disturbed and discouraged, imagine those nights when you're going to be like, I don't feel like doing shit. Or you wake up, you feel like I just want to stay in the bed. I don't feel like working on my shit. Those are the points when what I'm saying is going to be small potatoes. Like, so anytime I see somebody say, I want this and I want to start, I'm going to push you. Like I tell Al last night, I ain't going to pull you, but I'm going to push you. And that's just how I am. So before you ask for my support, consider who you're talking to, because you're going to get that from me all the time. And I'm not apologetic about it because, I like to see people prepared for, what they say they want to do. And especially my wife, because, she'll get excited about something and I'll get excited. And then sometimes I do have to be the voice of reason to say, okay, what have you done to prep yourself? And it may come across as drilling her. But I don't think I'm drilling. I think I'm, prepping. So it's just how I'm wired.
So when do you consider what she needs? Like I heard you say, this is how I support, and you know who I am. If you come to me, this is what you're going to get. Like I hear all of that. When do you consider like what the person who's asking for the support needs?
What they need or what they want?
Whichever. Like
no, there's a difference.
I'm not saying that there's not, but we know that people use those two things interchangeably. We also know that definitions for needs and wants will vary from person to person. And so if your answer is different, depending on if it's a need or a want, then let's hear both. But if it doesn't matter, I don't know if it makes a difference in your answer. But,
I like that, Gina. Yes, if it makes a difference in your
there you go. Switch it around, Gina.
Well, for me, oftentimes, and especially with my wife, a lot of times, the want is for me to shut up and listen, and not give any feedback. Is to just go with it. The need, as it's shown and proven most of the time is that those questions are necessary.
So a bitch ain't never gonna get what she want, Gina. That's what the fuck he's saying.
Well, she asked. Well, no. The original question was, when do I give you what you need?
Well, the original question was, when do you consider
right, and that's
the person needs?
Okay,
I just didn't hear any type of consideration in your answer.
Well,
it was just.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. Is my consideration is, I'm going to give you what's needed, not what you want, and that's my consideration. Is what I'm saying is, in the moment, I'm considering that. I know who my source is, and she knows who her source is when we're dealing with each other. And I'm considering something's needed here because something's missing. And if something's needed, I'm going to offer it. That's my consideration, is what's needed. What's wanted to me in that moment is not.
Is that necessary? It don't matter?
It's not. Like, in that moment, if the question is, am I considering what's needed? No, what's wanted is not. It doesn't matter as much as what's needed.
Oh Lord, get off the boat, Jay. You getting too deep.
Like, okay.
I feel like it's about to go left.
Okay, I just won't answer no more questions. Like, I'm answering the question. Goddamn.
No, I'm saying about what you're saying about what's needed and what she wants.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't figure out if the bitch is ever gonna get what the fuck she wants.
And I just told. Okay, in so many words.
No. So that's okay. Pretty much.
Right. Exactly. And you don't like it. You don't like it is what it is. You asked me a question. I gave you my answer. You know, whether you like it or not, I don't give a shit. But what I'm saying is you're going to get what's needed.
Okay. Well, Ladine, I think you hit it right in the nose. You know, the answer is no.
Right. And I just told you, I'm very unapologetic about that. I don't give a shit if you don't like it. I'm going to give you what's needed.
Clearly, darling. Clearly. It's okay.
What's needed according to JR.
Right.
I mean, as a lot of things go, like, a lot of shit wouldn't exist if I didn't give what was needed. If I always gave what was wanted, it'd be half-ass shit in a lot of places in my life. So, yeah.
Oh, so now I'm a half-ass bitch. Okay.
I didn't say that.
All right, so on that note, let's
That is not what I said.
Jumps out. Yes, please.
Yeah, please. Good God.
Yes. So, when it comes to this support thing, I think I definitely think there's need for clarity, and it is something that I think Ladine was hinting on, this idea of love languages, and I think it is very similar when it comes to support, in that similar to love, people give and are looking for support differently. So I think similar to love, I think that we should approach when it comes to support from that perspective, and that people and their tendencies are going to want to support in a way that they are either good at or prefer, and people might want to receive support in certain ways based on their orientation. I also think when it comes to support, that I think when you think about how something feels, or whether a fact is something that we should be considering as well. So, like, whether you feel like something is support doesn't make it not support, because, like, support is help. Like, that's what support is, right? So, today we're talking about, two different types of helping somebody: supporting and enabling. And I think whether or not something is supportive or is support or helpful doesn't really doesn't matter how you feel about it or not, right? So, I have been approached by a homeless person asking me for money, and I gave him something to eat instead. He didn't really want that, but was it still support? Yes. And so whether he felt like it was supportive as he cursed me out and like, motherfucker, I didn't ask you for something to eat. All right. But when you eat that shit, it's still going to be helpful. And, you know, I think about today, I went and helped my daughter get some tires on her car. I know she felt like it was supportive, but even if she didn't, that don't take away from the fact that what I did was supportive. And so in very similar to Jay, like when it comes to the fact of whether or not I supported somebody, I'm unapologetically and like I don't really care whether you feel like it's supportive or not in terms of whether or not I'm going to believe and know that it was support. Because at the end of the day, support is doing something for someone that they probably in normal circumstances could do for themselves. But for whatever reason, I'm doing it. And maybe in this case, due to the circumstances, they couldn't do it for themselves. Or in circumstances, they still could do it for themselves. And I did it for them anyway. But either way, if it's something that you could do for yourself and I did it for you, shit, that's supportive. So that's I look at the support I give from that lens, and I look at the support I receive through that lens. So I acknowledge and agree, Gina, that you've been very supportive of me, particularly from my entrepreneurial standpoint. Like, definitely very consistent in that manner. Yeah, I mean, I think this idea is it's not what I wanted, and it might not be what you wanted, and that is something we can accept. But whether you wanted it or not does not take away from whether it was support. And so, when Pooh comes home and she says something to him that's supportive but not what he wanted, that don't make it not supportive. It's just not what he wanted.
So I agree with you, Al, that just because it's not the desired form of support does not mean that it's not supportive. I agree with you 100%. I do, though, think that it should be considered and sometimes granted. Kind of the same way you and Ladine brought up the love language. It's the same thing. So, I should always consider your love language or how you feel loved. And I should be willing to give that to you. Will I give it to you 100% of the time? No. Should I give it to you sometimes? Absolutely. And that's just kind of how I feel about the support thing, right? Like, it's not always an either or. So, you give me support in the way that you feel is necessary or that's needed, to refer to JR's comment, and that's fine. That's what makes you feel good, and that's what you feel is the appropriate way to handle it, but at the same time, my desire or need is something different. And so, should you abandon what you think is the appropriate thing? No, that's not what I'm saying. But there are probably times that both could happen. Al, mute, please. And so, in the moments of my excitement, and I'm telling you, blah, 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 it is possible for you to support me in one way in that moment. And then, further down the line, support me in the way that or ask me the questions that you think are necessary, or support me in the way that you think I should be supported. So again, it's back to that dance thing. Like, it's not for me an absolute, an either or, but oftentimes it's a both and when people are on different ends of the spectrum. To me, there's a way for that to be a win-win for both people
fairly easily.
Yeah, I believe that he's gotten better. There was a time where for me it was just unbearable and I stopped coming to him with things until I learned that like I said that like that's like his ways. And I learned to appreciate them in different ways. And I think he's learned to not be so harsh. You know what I'm saying? Like to still get his point across and and make sure I get his perspective. But at the same time, he's learned to be a little softer. There was a time where I didn't think my husband knew soft, and so he's learned to be a little softer with me, and I'm appreciative of that for that.
Yeah, that's a version of the both and.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think supporting someone's ambitions and aspirations are different than supporting their mental health. I just think there's I don't mind you, okay, Swift kicking the butt, let's go. But I think on the other end, if it's like a mental, I guess, uprising or, whatever you're trying to get from that situation, I just think all situations are different. And I think you should try to feel it out before you render what you want to give them.
I understand what you're saying. I also think that's the difference between like reacting and responding. And some people can be pretty impulsive, like myself. I can be very impulsive when I react, and so I know that I have to be mindful of the way like I give my responses to JR. Because sometimes it might be like bitch, I did not need all that energy in that right now. You know what I mean? Sometimes he just needs me to like calm the fuck down and listen. But there are times where he'll tell me, he'll be like, Lay, no, that's not what I'm saying, or no, like that's not what I need. I understand what you're saying, Thomas, as far as like I guess from like a mental health perspective versus like an ambition. I'm going to need you to be supportive differently in different ways. But again, depending on like how your spouse's day went, depending on whether or not they're even able to be present in the moment with you to get what's really happening with you. I think that that's going to depend on the circumstances. Like I said, like their day, what's really happening with them too. So I definitely think that a lot of that has to do. I think that this also, comes in expectations here, and like what what you're really expecting from your spouse. So I mean, I think that there's so many different factors, and I do agree with you, Pooh, when you say like every situation is absolutely different because it is. But I do think we get to handle each other with a little more care and with a little more, and I guess going to Al's word of the day, fragile, because we can be fragile. Just be a little more gentle with each other. I do think that we can do that.
So, at what point are we? At what point are we to wonder if our spouse is not giving us the support we desire because it is stopping them from enabling us? So, there have been people that I felt like if I supported them in the way that they wanted, I would be enabling them. And I'm not going to do that. And I'm sure they looked at me like, but dude, why are you not supporting me the way and it's like, I'm not doing that. So is it on us at any point to wonder if this person is supporting me in other ways, but not in these ways? Could it be because it's an enabling thing and maybe I should either do it myself, like go without their support, or maybe wonder if this behavior that I'm looking to have supported should be adjusted.
So it's funny that you asked that, because I was going to ask, I guess, kind of the same question, but from the other perspective, right? And it's that, what if, or there's a possibility that the ways in which people want to be supported are those ways that causes enabling. How do you tell the difference? Who makes that decision? And so, yeah, like if Al is not supporting me because he thinks that if he does, it'll enable me, do I really have should I be saying something?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's oh God, how can I say this? So there's a major area in my life where my husband knows he does not support me enough. And I'm clear that he doesn't support me enough. And I think maybe I've just settled in a space where it's just not who he is. But I do feel like that enables him to just not even step up, to act as if this thing is not important, to act as if this thing isn't a major factor. And so I do feel as if I not being I guess maybe tired of mentioning it, tired of speaking on it, just exhausted from the situation, period. I guess me not saying enough is a way to enable him to think shit is sweet or that it's okay. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Does anybody else have that similar experience going on here? Is that
Well, what it made me think of, one of the things I was going to say, that one of the things that has helped me sometimes is remembering not to have the expectation at certain times, because that's who he is. And then to continue to walk into a situation hoping for something different, wanting something different, just sets everybody up, and it just becomes just a not pleasant situation, right? So it's knowing that. So there are times when, I walk in and I do it. I say whatever I have to say and not have those expectations. And sometimes I just don't, to your point, Ladine, sometimes I might not say anything because of the reaction that I think I'm going to get, right? And I don't want to deal with that reaction because that's not what I want or need, or that's not what I think is appropriate or whatever. And so, in the moment, I think that the fix is, well, just don't say anything to avoid that. But then on the back end, sometimes comes that, I don't know, those ill feelings that come along with thinking I'm not getting what I need.
Right, because
or
why can't I fucking
thinking,
say anything? Like, why do I gotta shut the fuck up? Because this motherfucker
right,
isn't just gonna step up and do what the fuck he's gotta do. Is
right.
that what you mean, Gina?
That's what I mean, just that, like, really, I can't believe I can't share this, or I'm not going to share this because,
Right.
Blah, blah, blah. So again, it's that dance.
Yeah, and I think it's easy in any relationship, a marriage, friendship, anything with parents and kids. It's easy to get into a cycle of thinking that those issues are unique to you, and that you're blameless in any situation where you feel like you're not getting supported fully. Because if you ask anybody on either side of any relationship, there are going to be points where they feel like they're not being supported on a certain level. And we all have to look at ourselves and say, how can I be better, and how can I show up better, and take ownership and sit in that shit a lot of times. None of us married perfect people, and none of us. I don't think any of us have the impression that any of ourselves are perfect. But if it's easy to get into, especially when you're in that moment, it's easy to get into that mode of feeling like I'll never get what I need from this person. I'm not, and because you're in that moment. But I'm like it's hard to move forward when you get into a mode of shutdown. So if you don't say anything, and we all fall into it. If you don't say anything, that's on you.
I have the over here we have kind of the opposite of what Thomas gives me. He actually support the part. So with your partner, with my situation, Thomas supports what I do, but he ends to abandon it.
What do you mean?
Like, if I decide to let's say we decide to do on a health track or anything that you want to start up doing, he's good at first, he's with me and all that stuff, then he abandons it. Like, he'll go and not support it anymore, or he'll half-ass it.
I beg to differ.
Why would you beg to differ?
Can you unpack that a little? Like, what are you referring?
Yeah, because
go ahead, Chiquita, unpack it.
Okay, so I'll do light. I'll make it a little light.
Okay.
So if we decide to, just because of my health issues, I've been having a lot of health issues lately, and so I tend to, like Thomas, like I have to have you in the house to support me, like when it comes to healthy eating or like walking, like exercising. So he'll be good at first, but he'll stop, or sometimes instead of running, he'll be like, oh, my knees, I can't do it. Or he'll be like, well, there's nothing wrong with eating a cookie. I'm not the one that's, dieting. It's fine to eat a cookie. You know what I'm saying? He just like half-assed it. So I'm like, why start it with me? Like, why start it when you're not going to go all in? You know what I'm saying?
Because he's trying to support you.
Right. So that's what I would ask.
Way he knows how.
Right.
And no, don't say that's the best way he knows how, because that's not the best way. Because I know when I support, I'm all in.
But that's you. That's not him. But that's
you.
That's not him. So I think that is one unmet expectation that you have, and you can't expect him to not eat that cookie because he's not having the same issues as you. He can't eat that cookie. So you want him to starve because you got to starve. Like, you want him to suffer because you suffering. Like, that's some other shit.
That's not true, because we all know cookies are not good for us.
Okay, but it's a cookie.
But you see couples all the time that's together when as one. Like, if somebody's having some blood pressure issues, like it's life-threatening, then I wouldn't dare eat a cookie like beside her, or I'll stop and I'm in the car and I'll go to Chick-fil-A and get what's the thing? A little slushy, the lemonade and ice cream. Like, I wouldn't dare do that.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Keita. So one, like if you mentioned, if he says
support.
No, I'm saying, first of all, when we look at other couples, what we see is only what we see. Like, we don't know what goes on 24. I find it hard to believe that every couple like that, like you mentioned, is perfect all the time. So I'm sure they have their warts as well. But when your spouse is mentioning, I can't do this, my knees, and they have legitimate knee issues, like, that support has to go both ways.
Right, Keita. Come on, son. What's going on here?
Issues like that. I like the way I like to talk to Jay, because Jay like to, throw things out there. But I'm gonna come back. because this is the problem.
Mhm.
He say he has knee issues. He can't run with me, but he goes to the Y and plays basketball. So I don't understand where these knee issues come from.
Okay, so
Well,
He doesn't play now, but then he was. He'll
Right.
go and play basketball on the weekends at the Y, but he has knee issues.
Right. So you mentioned that. So, I have since I have back issues. My back don't hurt all the time. Sometimes I can go outside and play football with my kids, but it may be that one day that I'm like, yo, I can't do it today. So it's not a injuries are not always. So if it's something that he's saying is bothering him, I think you have to support both ways. And I don't think,
Thomas?
knowing the man that you married, I would hope that you would think he would be stand up to know enough to say, yo, my knees are bothering me, without it being a cop out and lying to get out of it. I don't think he would do that.
And to me that hey, I'm perplexed about it, because I'll be like, okay, we can walk, do whatever, jog, all of that, but like continuously, my knees are bone on bone.
Mine are too.
So I'm like, and if I say, okay, yeah, this pavement, okay, no, we in the gym or whatever, I can do more in there because of of course, the cushion on my knees, with my feet hitting the ground. But I don't asphalt and concrete. Nah, I jog on a little bit with you, but I can't continuously run. But that was a while ago. But I do as much as I could do. To say I don't do it, I think that's far fetched.
Yeah.
You know what? Yeah, I get my cookie from Chick-fil-A. Hey,
You better
I'ma
get that Chick-fil-A cookie, okay?
I'm gonna sit in that. But to go to the extent of half-ass, I don't know if I agree with that. And a lot of the time they'll say let's fast. So we'll fast different things. So I take things away. She takes the things away that she binges on or eats a lot or whatever, and I take away. I don't do everything that they do, but I take the things away that I binge on, like sodas, but that ain't half-assed, because I take the things away that I think that are a detriment to me.
But you ain't all
So
in.
that ain't half-assed, or you can't tell me that ain't all in either. Like I don't understand that.
These
Here's the other thing, too.
expectations.
And when you talk about like weight loss and exercise and all of that, and Keita, because we've all been in that struggle and that battle, that shit is hard, right? And so you've stopped a billion times. So to say like he starts, he gets all in, and then he's abandoned it, and now he's fucked up for doing that. We've all done that a billion times. And so if we stop for ourselves, of course we're going to stop when we're doing it with somebody else too. Like it just feels like that's very heavy, maybe, I don't know, a little unfair, because we've all done that. And so he's trying to support you to the amount that he can. And then eventually, again, like we've all done, we get tired. We be like, fuck that. I ain't walking today. Shit, I just did that today, 3 hours ago. Like, damn, if I don't walk, I'm not going to close my ring. I've made that decision, right? And so it's like that, because it's a struggle every day. And so he falls off.
And
Well, yeah, I totally get that. I'm not saying that part as like abandoned. I'm just meaning that he makes his own rules when it comes to supporting. That's what I'm trying to say. Like if I say we're gonna walk, if we're gonna run or whatever, he'd be like, no. Or let me just say this: if we say we're gonna walk, then he'd be like, no, I'm gonna just walk 2 times. You know what I'm saying? He makes his own rules when he's trying to support. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Of course, you are his wife, so you're the one that he has to discuss this with and talk it out with. But I do believe, Keita, that this is like a ridiculous expectation that you are putting on him. I understand that when you're running a household, when you have health issues, this is something JR and I have been having to work on. And it's like it's stuff you want to bring to the kids. You want to eat healthier. You want to do it together. There's plenty of times where I want to do things with him, and there are times where he'll want to do things with me. But if the other one is just not engaged, then like he's just not engaged or I'm not engaged, and I mean the other person's just not with it. And so expecting him to be with it when he's not, when he doesn't want to be, or that's not a part of what he wants to do, then I just wouldn't expect that, because all you're doing is disappointing yourself. So if you go in it head on, knowing like, look, I'm going to do this. I'm doing it for me. It's not about us. It really is for me. I think it would make it easier that whatever support he did give, you would be a little more grateful for and appreciative for. Versus if you go in like, well, you got to do this with me, and that you can't really expect that from him. You can, because you're his wife, if that's what your expectations are, but you got to know that you're going to be disappointed because it's not his thing.
So I got a question because I'm real confused over here.
Uh-oh.
So I need somebody to help me. So, granted, as Keita is making her statement, she's probably the only one on the call that really sees why, for whatever reason, her expectation is what it is, right? And we're all like, I don't really get it. Ain't that the case when all of us look at our spouse not supporting us in the way that we want? Because at the end of the day, that's all that is Keita's wanting something in terms of support that, for whatever reason, her spouse is falling short.
Exactly.
And in this case, we're looking at her like, and Keita is standing and like, no, but I want this though. Why don't y'all understand that? Yeah, I want this. And we like, yeah, not really though. Right. But that's the case when you say it, when I say it, when Gina, we all are standing there like, I want this. And the other folk is like, I don't think so. And we're looking at her and say, well, then do it for yourself. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, it's support is one of them things that sometimes you're going to get it, sometimes you ain't, because the person you're dealing with is human. And so sometimes they're going to either want to do it, can do it, they do it, and then sometimes they ain't. And maybe the right approach is what we're looking at Keita and like, yo, really? Nah, just let it go. All of us should be there, though, not just her. All of us should be like, let it go. It ain't that serious. For whatever reason, they can't do it. But really, support is still something that I really believe you probably could do for yourself. What we looking for, we could probably do that shit ourselves. So while, yeah, we can catch feelings and say, damn, why they not doing it? I think JR was really advocating for, as opposed to saying why they not doing it, maybe the better question is, can I do this for myself? And if I can do it for myself, then do it and keep it moving.
So let me just clarify, right? Like for me, it wasn't yes, it's the same, right? Al, what Keita was expressing and what everybody else, people want to be supported the way that they want to be supported. And so my response is no different, right? Sometimes it's about changing expectation. Sometimes it's about just giving, which is what I was doing, just in the sense of, here's another perspective. And maybe this is a way that you could look at this, Keita, to help you feel better about what's happening here, right? Not that your shit is not valid, that you're wanting support the way that you want it is different than what we've been saying, tonight. Like, we all know that our spouses or our children or parents or whatever, people are going to support you typically in the way that they think you should be supported. And sometimes you just have to accept that. And sometimes it's like, all right, let me look at this thing and see where I stand. Maybe I need to check myself, right? Which is what you're saying too, Al, like, right? And Ladine, you said it too. Sometimes it's just about us. And so do we need to check ourselves to even see, like, and maybe that will help us let go of some of the judgment or the frustration or whatever. I'm just saying. JR, I think I heard you getting ready to say something.
Yeah, and that's what I was, like at the same time, we have to, especially when you're the one that, has this bright idea, or you have, something you want to start. Like, we just had a show on, we just had an episode on being individuals within your relationship. And you have to remember, just like with anybody else, like, it ain't your spouse's baby. It's not their idea. So if their opinions and perspective doesn't align with yours, like, so be it. Like, if that excitement and that motivation is genuine, the whatever you get from someone who doesn't align with you shouldn't affect you at all. Not to stop you from what you're doing.
Hello?
Sounds like we may have lost Jay.
Hello?
Yeah,
You hear me?
Jay's not here. We hear you, Lay.
Okay. I'm glad I'm here.
Glad you did too.
I mean, I got to be.
So if he's gone, what does that mean for you?
Probably means we stopped recording.
Yeah.
And we can.
Y'all hear me?
We can
We
now.
can hear you now.
Yeah, I don't know why my shit just went mute and started ailing on its own. But I was just saying that, it's your baby. And, ain't nobody else going to feed your baby like you do. So if it's your idea, if it's your change in lifestyle, whatever it is, feed your baby. And if they don't want to feed your baby like you, then keep it moving.
Man, I just want to say I enjoy talking with y'all. Y'all as good as any barbershop I've ever been in. Y'all, this was a good conversation. I really enjoyed it. Like, I wasn't sure what we was gonna get when we came into this, but I really do appreciate hearing y'all and just chomping it up with y'all.
Right. No, it's very. Go ahead. Sorry, y'all.
Go ahead, Lay.
No, I was just going to say, so it's definitely like their baby, and then sometimes when they might be in the situation. So for like when Jay was struggling with his health issues, that shit drove me crazy. Like I literally didn't know how to handle it. Like I would go in the room sometimes and cry by myself. I mean, like I was doing everything that I thought that I could to support him. And sometimes like I would tell him, babe, do you want to come walk? No, he wasn't, he just wasn't in the mood. And sometimes you're not always the person that your spouse is going to hear it from. Do you know what I mean? Like where they'll really be able to hear it from. And I know that there's other people in JR's life, for instance, maybe his sisters, maybe Al or Pooh, just someone else in his life where he'll be actually able to receive it from. And sometimes he might not receive it from me. It might be the doctor, it might be anybody. So I feel like some of that for me, sometimes, just sitting back and doing what I know how to do best, to me, sometimes that's being supportive also. You know what I'm saying? So it might not be, I might not be the person that he can receive it from. I might not be the person that he can hear certain things where he may need to hear it from someone else in order to be able to receive it. And I'm okay with that. So I had to learn to be okay with that, though, because I was very offended by that for a really long time. Like if I'm your wife and you hear it from me and you can't accept it, but when you hear it from someone else, you're like, oh, yeah, and it would just be like, oh, really? And he gets annoyed when I do the same shit. Right. Because it's not like that hasn't happened before. That's definitely happened before. So but when it came to his health, for me, I did what I could. And then I allowed him to just do what he needed to do on his own. And I felt like that was being supportive. So when that's the other side of what Jay was saying, when he was just saying that if it's your thing, or sometimes you might need it to be your thing, or it's not necessarily their thing. I feel like that's the other side of that. Does that make sense? Everyone? Anyone?
Yes, that makes sense.
I hear you.
Yeah.
But it's so hard for me. But I get it what y'all saying. But this is something I had to think about, with myself, because I even did that like with my family members. Like, I'm just such a caring person, and I used to give myself to my family members, my husband so much, and worry about their situations and make sure they're happy, and I didn't pay attention to my happiness, like what I want. So I'm always like going hard for others, but I kind of put myself aside too on a lot of things. And so now that I'm kind of putting myself forward, and paying attention to what I want, I be looking for that from my partner, or even from my from my family members, because I'm like, dang, I done did everything, for y'all, and this is how y'all do me. Like, I need the support, and I be looking for that, because I know I go 100%. So I get it what you're saying, but sometimes I be needing that 100% sometimes.
Yeah, girl, but you gotta ask for it. You gotta ask for it. You gotta clearly ask for it, and then be willing.
I do.
Girl, she said she asked for it. She said Thomas know exactly what she needs.
Right.
She
No,
told
I'm
him.
saying, right, but what I'm saying also, the end of that is, and also be willing to receive whatever his response is going to be, because JR might say, Lay, I need 100% from you on this, and because I give you my 100%, so I need 100% from you on this. And I might be like, well, nigga, I can't give you 100% on that. I could only give you 50.
And somebody else's 100% may not be what your 100% is. That's something I had to learn. Sort of a parallel, but when we started Defy Life, something I had to learn early on is, I can't compare money's 100% to my 100%, because this is, I'm kind of, maniacal when I attack stuff like that. Money's not like that, so I had to stop comparing, and especially if you're the kind of person that you described. Is that you go all in for everybody else. Usually what happens to people like that is they don't get that reciprocation from everybody, because not everybody's built like you. And you're going to be disappointed when your 100% in any phase of life is not, it far surpasses everybody else's 100%. They think they're giving 100%, but it don't equal what you give 100%. So, it's hard to make those comparisons and not be disappointed.
Facts. My takeaway from this conversation is that similar to the love languages, when it comes to support, is a very nuanced thing. So it's not really an either or, but it's more both. How do you say it? Like a both and?
Both and.
This is a both and thing. So where, when the person is wanting and desiring the support, like, that is to be acknowledged and accepted and understood and appreciated, because that's real. And all of us have been in that space wondering, why isn't somebody supporting me the way I want to be supported? Like, what that is real, and we got to see that. But on the other side, I agree with y'all in terms of what people give has to be acknowledged too. And it's like, that's the dance, we say it a lot. And, the better you can deal with that, the expectations, the relationship, your own personal wellness will probably improve. Because, Kita, one thing none of us do is ever sacrifice ourselves in terms of taking care of ourselves. Like you were saying, like you might have, slacked off on yourself as you did for others. We always got to take care of ourselves. If we're not taking care of ourselves, we'll never be able to take care of others.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you, Al. That was a great drop mic summary of the conversation. I think you hit it on the nail. So on that note, I think it's time for us to say goodnight. Thank you for your parting words, Al. And so, listeners, we will see you next week, same time, same channel. As always, thanks for listening. Good night, y'all.
Good night.
Good night.
Best Medicine Podcast with Simba. Sparking positive change in the community. Having real conversations and therapy. You know that laughter's the best remedy. Got that heavy dose of humor for your hearts to heal. With mental health, it can't get any more real, yeah. Best Medicine Podcast. Laugh, love, learn. Best Medicine Podcast.
Best Med Pod, it's your man Simba Roar back in this thing one more time, bruh. Come get your weekly diagnosis Thursday at midnight, only on the Defy Life Podcast Network. Check us out, though.